Hello everybody, this is Rob from Access. Today I'm joined by Phil from Turtle Rock Studios. Thank you for joining us, Phil. And we are talking about Evolve, which is a multiplayer shooter with a twist. So yes. What's the twist? It's not like 16 on 16, is it? What is the big twist for Evolve?
Well, the twist is that it's 4 versus 1, and you've got 4 human hunters versus 1 player-controlled big badass monster.
Yeah. And obviously you guys have got quite a lot of experience when it comes to making multiplayer shooters. So what lessons have you learned from making Left 4 Dead, obviously? What for you is crucial to making a really fun multiplayer experience?
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on what you consider fun. I mean, I like, all of our guys, we're very co-op centric.
Yeah.
There are good ways to do it and there are bad ways to do it. Obviously, when you're talking about cooperative gameplay, you can't just throw a bunch of people together on the internet and expect them to play nice, right? So it's all about sort of building in systems into the game that encourage, players to play nice. In Evolve, we've done a lot of that. I mean, particularly with classes, each class, sort of has a very specific job to do, right? And if you're not doing that job, you're gonna lose, and your teammates might be kind of mad at you, and cuss you out.
I was really surprised when I first of all heard that the monster was player controlled as well. Was that something you had in mind from the very beginning? You've got co-op, you've got 4-player co-op, but the monster is on his own. He's also player controlled.
Well, I mean, there's a million games out there, right, that have boss battles in them, right? And AI scripted boss battles, and we're looking for a new experience, right? And I don't know. I mean, I can't tell you how many times we looked at like these sort of, hey, I want to be that guy. I don't want to be these little peons that are getting stomped on. I want to be the big badass guy that's going to smash stuff and throw giant rocks and I mean, I don't know. To me, that just seemed to the team, that really just seemed like kind of obvious. I mean, especially considering we're looking for new experiences, right? Not experiences that have been had and done a million times.
And so, getting into the actual specifics of the co-op, you've got 4 classes. Quite often in co-op games, you've got a tank and a healer and a rogue, and pick a class. But quite often you don't really feel any difference. But with Evolve, like each player, really does have a role. Like I was playing as a medic, and if you don't heal everyone, if everyone does not work together, you are kind of screwed.
Right.
So can you take us through the classes, what you have to do, and why is it so crucial that you work together as a team?
Yeah, sure. So assault, we have the assault class, right? He's the big damage dealing guy, right? That's his job to dish out lots and lots and lots of damage. All the guys can do damage, right? But none of the guys can do it quite as well as the assault guy. The medic, again, that's kind of an obvious thing, right? The medic needs to keep everyone in the action, and of course, if the assault guy's up there doing his job, he's going to be getting battered, right? And if the healer isn't keeping him healthy, he's going to go down, right? And then you're going to lose your big damage dealer. The trapper, his job is to find and sort of restrict the monster's movement. So a good example of that is like Griffin, one of the trappers that you probably played today. He's got sound spikes, right? And sometimes the monster is hard to find, but if you sort of blanket an area with these sound spikes, right, the monster goes through there and he makes any kind of noise, right, you're going to get a ping on your HUD. So that's the trapper's deal. He's helping you find the monster. He's got a lot of equipment that's meant to do that. And then of course, once you do find him, right, I mean, he needs to sort of control the monster's movement or inhibit his movement. To go back to sort of the example of the assault guy, right? The monster punches the assault guy goes flying. The monster advances on the assault guy to keep pushing the attack, but the trapper's behind the monster and hits him with the harpoon gun, right? Suddenly the monster is stopped in his tracks. He can't get to the assault guy, and he has to turn around and deal with the trapper. In the meantime, the assault guy's getting up. He's, so it's about kind of moving everybody around, trying to bait the monster in all these different directions. And then the last, of course, is the support class. The support class's deal is he's the guy. He's like he provides buffs You know, he provides tactical advantages to, you know, the rest of the team in terms of, you know, the guys are going to be different, right? Some of them will provide defensive, you know, buffs, and some of them will provide offensive buffs. In the case of Hank, you know, he's got the shield projector. You know, we can again go back to the assault guy, right? The assault guy's getting smashed and he's got him backed into a corner and he's having a hard time getting out. Well, the support guy is going to hit him with the shield projector, right? Suddenly the monster's wasting his time. He can't do any damage. So effectively, you know, at least a smart monster is going to turn around and go after the source of that, right? He's going to go after that support guy. Of course, as he's going after that support guy and banging on him, the medic is healing the support guy so that he doesn't die, and in the meantime, the trapper is harpooning him, you know, keeping him from getting around, and then of course all the time the assault guy is just unloading on him as much as possible.
I mean, that sounds like pretty bad news for the monster, but when I was playing as him, I was surprised. I was expecting him to be kind of powerful but quite slow, but he's pretty agile, isn't he? He can leap around everywhere. So and obviously he can evolve as well. So, you know, what can you expect as the monster? What kind of kick-ass abilities have you got?
Well, I mean, and so, you know, I mean, I can talk about Goliath, you know, because he's the guy that you guys got to play today. He's our brute, you know, he's sort of our more straightforward monster. You look at him and you kind of immediately understand what he's all about, which is, you know, kicking ass, right? He can pick up a giant rock, you know, rip it out of the ground and throw it at the hunters. He can breathe fire, which is often is really good for him for crowd control. I mean, if he's got 4 hunters right in his face, just, you know, and everyone's on fire. He has a leap attack, which, in addition to, you know, covering a lot of ground when he comes down, you know, he deals with sort of a big vicious blow and, you know, sends people flying. And then the last thing is he's got a kind of a bull rush, you know, so if the hunters are sort of all clustered together, he can hit them, bowl them over, right? They fall, he can turn around and start pounding on them. The other thing that he can do that's really cool is that he can jump really far. You know, he's got kind of like a leap, sort of like the Hulk can, you know, leap really far distances, and he can climb just about any surface, you know, in the map. So I mean, the thing about the monsters have to be mobile, right? Because if they're not mobile, then the hunters can lock them down really easy. And so, you know, we gave all of our monsters the ability to, you know, to evade and sort of lose the hunters. I mean, you got to be able to do that, right? Otherwise, if you get found at stage 1 when you're relatively weak, you're never going to get away. They're just going to own you. You know?
But you can evolve as well. That was one of the cool things. You can evolve to, like, you know, stage 2, stage 3, and you can eventually get huge, really, really powerful. And then I guess the table's going to turn in favor of the monster if you let him evolve that far. I mean, so at stage 1, you know, I mean, in terms of pure numbers, the monster is at a bit of a disadvantage, right? And at stage 1, really what he wants to do is he wants to avoid the hunters. He wants to go off into the forest, or, you know, whatever the case may be, and eat the wildlife, right? Kill it, eat it, and the more he eats, the more energy he gets, you know, the closer he gets to, you know, changing to the next stage, right? Of course, the hunters want to prevent that, right? The hunters know that the sooner they find him, the more chance they have of beating him. So, you know, and then as the monster progresses, right, he's not always going to get to stage 3, but if he can, you know, he becomes like a powerhouse, right? And at that point, the hunters are, you know, the hunters become the hunted, right? They need to, you know, change their game, certainly change their strategy, because they're not hunting the monster anymore. The monster's hunting them. So, and then it's about finding a good place to kind of make your last stand, right? And the thing I should stress, though, is that it's not impossible to win as a stage 1 monster. And it's not impossible to beat a stage 3 monster. You know, I mean, we've designed it in such a way that it's always possible. It's just a little bit harder. I mean, you said in the presentation that you guys play this game every day.
Yes.
I mean, I played it 4 or 5 times, and each time, you know, was completely different. It was a huge, you know, kind of amazing story that you want to go and and talk to people about? I guess you must have had loads of scenarios. Are there any that spring to mind, really memorable scenarios that you guys have had playing it in development?
Sure. The ones that are always fun, and it's gotten to the point where I sort of give new monster players this little bit of advice, is the wildlife is there, the wildlife that's in there is a danger, but different kinds of wildlife are dangerous to different parties. So, for example, you take the tyrant, and I don't know if you managed to go into the tyrant pool or see the tyrant pool when you're playing. This is, a big pond, and there's a tyrant in it. And a tyrant is sort of like this really big cross between a crocodile and a snapping turtle, right? And they're super aggressive. But the interesting thing is that they don't really mess with the monster too much, particularly at stage 2 and 3, right? Because he's just as big as it is. So it'll just kind of hang back and not mess with the monster. But he'll make a snack out of hunters, with joy any time during the game. So a lot of times it's really cool, when you see the monster go over towards the tyrant pool and start fighting the hunters there, right? Inevitably, what'll happen is one of those hunters will get knocked into the tyrant pool, and the tyrant will grab him and start chewing him, and then just all hell breaks loose, right? You hear hunter players screaming, you hear the monster player giggling with joy because while they're trying to save him, he's eating this other guy over here, and that happens quite often. It's always super entertaining.